Hello and welcome to Steve's Vintage Model Builds, where today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Um, I was poking around YouTube yesterday and came across a video from a creator I hadn't seen before, and it drew my attention because uh, the subject of the video was how to choose a model kit for your skill level. And which is a good thing, and but unfortunately, spend more time looking at the person's face than looking at actual kits. So I'm going to do things a little differently today. Um, I'm going to basically I'm going to one of the great things about our hobby is that it accommodates all skill levels, a wide variety of interests and subjects, a variety of scales, and a wide variety of price points as well. Excuse me. So this particular video is geared more to beginner and novice modelers. Excuse me. Like they say about experts, it's because they've learned from all their mistakes over the time. Um, so I hope this video will help people make the right choices. And for younger people, well, and for older people too. I mean, I know I've learned since, but when I returned to this particular part of the hobby 2 years ago, you want to get your hands on everything. It's like, you're kind of a kid in a candy store. Um, and and as a result of that, sometimes you make mistakes, not only as far as what your skill level is concerned, but the price you've paid for what you get, and so on and so forth. So I hope this video will show a few, general basic principles to follow in selecting a model kit. And I want to make two things really clear. First of all, obviously all of this is my opinion, but the thing is that you want to challenge yourself, obviously. Some people, they just want something super easy, and I'm like that too sometimes. If I get in a certain mood, I don't want anything really super complicated or hard. I just want something to do with my fingers and do it as much of a meditative exercise as anything else. But with everything that's out there, it can be difficult. If you're fortunate enough to have one or more hobby shops where you live, that's great, because that's the best place to go for advice. And if they're a half decent hobby shop, they're not going to be concerned about selling you the most expensive thing. They're going to be happy to answer questions and help you make choices. Now, in our town here, unfortunately, there's one hobby. Well, fortunately, there is one hobby shop, and it's the only hobby shop on Vancouver Island outside of Victoria at the south end of the island. So, a lot of rural areas. If you're in the States, you've got Hobby Lobby and stuff like that. That's great. They're not really in a position to give you a lot of advice unless you happen to run into a salesperson who's a model builder as well. And of course, there's model clubs, whether they're online or in person in your town, depending on all that kind of stuff. So yeah, don't be afraid to challenge yourself, but go into your challenges knowing what you're doing. And the two best tools for that are ScaleMates. Go to ScaleMates, do your research. If you see a kit that you like and you think you'd like to have, go on ScaleMates. I'll put a link at the bottom, and it's a great resource. And once you get going, you can You know, you can post albums, you can you have a public gallery, you know, you can converse back and forth with people, and they have just about every kid under the sun in the database, and instructions for most as well in PDF form. So I learned pretty early on, not too early, unfortunately. It's best to go there first. So you get a really good idea of what it looks like, and what you might be getting yourself in for. And of course, the other thing is YouTube. Um, for almost every kit before I buy it, I watch a YouTube video of a kit review and a build if I can find one. And that's a great resource too, because then you find out what the challenges are, you find out what the difficulties are. You know, some kits are just dogs, and you know, it's better to know. And you know, so that's as far as that goes. So yeah, just those things, and as I said, you know, more seasoned modelers will know almost all this stuff. But if you're an older person just entering the hobby, don't get too excited. don't don't buy out the whole shop. Um, Although I mean, you're free to do so if you want to. So you know, I still like to think of myself as a model builder, not a kit collector. Um, but the stash keeps growing, and I guess where to draw the line there is if you buy a kit that you have every intention to build, and it's just a case of getting to it, or if you just want that kit and you have no intention of building it, then you've moved over into the collector stage. So for me, just because of my upbringing and stuff, I mean, you know, I just don't buy stuff just to put it in a box or put it on the shelf to look nice forever. So, anyways, so obviously there's all sorts of different levels of kits, and you know, choosing one for your skill level it can be a challenge. Um, I would suggest that you consider four things, and I'm going to talk about all four of them. And the first thing is the subject. The subject of your, I'm just going to pull this up so you got something to look at. There we go. That's a cool subject. There you go, right there. I'm going to turn off this light. I apologize if there's a bit of background noise. I've got the window open today. It's mild, although it's rainy. And the cat just used the litter box, so there you go. Anyways, yeah, this is, I'll talk about this more, and this company. But you know, first is the subject, and you know, it can be divided up into, you know, general areas. I would say, and again, all of these comments are general. Okay, you know, they don't necessarily apply to everything, but probably the most challenging kits are the ship kits. And I'm not going to talk about the science fiction stuff and the Bondi creations and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about, you know, basic vehicles, military ships, all that kind of stuff. So, okay, so yeah, the subject. Generally speaking, the ships are more challenging, particularly the ones if you have to thread the rigging. That can make them difficult. I think most people will find that the easiest kits, or the best starter kits, are often civilian cars, like we see here. There's lots of interesting subjects out there. Some are more complex than others, and you know, again, so you can just kind of do a bit of research and figure out what's going to fit your comfort level best. With the vehicles, the biggest challenges are, or usually the most difficult thing, is the motor. And we'll talk about that. But some motors are simpler than others, and some car kits don't even have one. So, you know, if you're just starting out from nothing, you know, probably a car kit, so that you can just get used to putting things together. You know, our hobby is a hobby, but it's also a craft. And with a craft, you learn techniques, and the more techniques you learn, the more you're able to accomplish in the craft and enjoy your hobby. So that's that. So after that, probably the next simple or you see, again, these can get very complex, but um, there's a lot of kits of military models out there, tanks and military vehicles and so on and so forth, and they vary widely. Um, I did. I'm going to start off here. Might as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with my go-to girl, Miss Tamiya. Returning viewers and subscribers will know that I'm pretty much a Tamiya guy. Not that I don't like other manufacturers. As a matter of fact, I've expanded my views quite a bit. Um, and just like most prejudices, whether it involves human interactions or otherwise, um, I found that in some ways I was hurting myself with my prejudices. So I try not to be a hobby snobby. I'm not a hobby snobby, and I don't think there's any place for it, in our hobby. But you're always going to get people like that. So if somebody wants to poo-poo you because pick on every little thing, well, just leave them to themselves and yeah, do your thing. So yeah, like for 99.9% of the modelers are, the rules are it's your kit. You can do what you want with it. If you want to make it as an exact, historically accurate replica as possible, that's great. If you want to paint it pink with green stripes, you can do that too. It's your model, it's your kit, you paid for it, so you can do what you want with it. So, but I think most people will agree that if you if you work through it and it turns out as you'd like, and that you're pleased with it, more than important than anything. If you're happy with it, that's more important than anything. And as many of us know, sometimes we don't think much of our work, but then someone comes over to the house and sees it, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's amazing." So, like I say, just the whole point is to have fun, not to break your face over it. So yeah, so this kit, I paid $36 for it, from Amazon, and I just looked it up again. It's available, same kit, for about $33 Canadian, but I also saw it for as high as 68. So again, you do your research, look around. Just because you see a price on Amazon, I'd say probably 8 times out of 10, Amazon has the best price, but not necessarily slow. So it always pays to shop around. And if you can get the Amazon Prime shipping, that's a big bonus. Saves you a lot of money. Okay, and so this was a kit, came out in the 70s. I think it was 77 or something. Sorry about that. Must be a bad accident up the road. 3 ambulances just went speeding by. So thoughts to anybody who might be injured. Okay, so yeah, so we've got this. I think it was 1977, and it's what some people refer to when they're talking about Tamiya as a shake and bake kit. That is, you just cut everything off the sprue, you put it in the box, you shake it around, you pour it out, and the kit's finished. So it's not quite that simple, but there's beauty in that too, because I'm going to go through this and I'm going to show you. And Tamiya is really good about this too. If you just want to buy something, you don't care about it, and you just want to slap it together and put it on the shelf or in a cupboard, that's fine. But one of the things that's great about Tamiya is they give you all this information. And in this particular case, it's not just about the M41 Walker, but it's about other tanks that that led up to it. We've got the Venerable Sherman. There's the T-34, the M-24. I think that was a patent. Maybe this one too. There were like 3 or 4 patents. Yeah, and so you get a nice big write-up. Oh, and speaking about complex kits, Peter Oxley dropped a review today on a Ryefield Models kit. I believe it was 135 Jagdpanther, the tank killer. And a beautifully tooled kit, beautiful plastic, 1,700 parts. Now, almost 200 of those parts were the tank tracks, but even so, I think for most people that would not be enjoyable. But anyways, you know, if that's your thing, and you know, you can do that. So not very unreasonably priced, not very, you know, for what it was. It's quite reasonably priced, I thought. But I think way too much kit for most people. And it, you know, it kind of struck me as that it was more like the kind of kit somebody buys to give to a professional kit builder, so that they can build it and then give it back to you and put it on the shelf, you know, like rich people do with stuff sometimes. Anyways, don't want to get into that. Okay, so here we go, and we've got a fold out here, and it's really just 3 pages of assembly instructions. The tub is one complete part. This parts of the suspension were already molded in. So basically, you know, you just put the poly caps on in the wheels and la la. And each step is broken down very logically. You can see that there's you know, you get some accessories. There's a fair bit of detail here. You know, you know, the machine gun and blah blah blah. And they're really good too about you know, different ways to, you know, they give you here, they show you, you know, if you want to make it, if you want to make a like a canvas cover, as it shows here, it shows you how to do that. So that's a great tip. And so here you go. This had space for batteries, and you could probably put a motor in it, but you know, the motorized stuff has never been any good. Why would you want to do that? So, and it comes with 3 figures as well. So, and then the final page is just the decaling. You've got 3 decal sets. So, you know, you get the subject, you get 3 figures, you get 3 choice of decal sets. And when you're done, this is what you get. Now, for me, this was like a weekender. It was one of those kits I just picked up because I wanted to do something, but I didn't really want to think that much about it. But I painted up the commander figure. I think he looks pretty good. And didn't weather the tank itself, but I did some work on the tracks to make them look less rubberish. But you know, say you know you get 5 or 6 hours out of this. You know, some people really like to rush. I don't. But if you're a beginner, you know, easily 5 or 6 hours, and you know, for $35, what other kind of entertainment can you get for that? And it looks pretty good, darn good when it's done. So, yeah. On that same note, I'm not sure if I have. This is a monogram kit of the Patton tank, and this is really old. I mean, this was tooled originally back in the 50s, and but anyways, again, a very simple kit. The fit was great, no complaints whatsoever, and yeah, and you get the 2 figures, and I don't know what it cost, but I think it was probably about. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So last April I paid $33.40, and that included shipping, and a really nice build. Not the greatest amount of detail in the world. And the only reason for this is I haven't actually glued it. I just put the thing on. Just haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, as I said, you get the 2 figures and you get some accessories here. You got some tools. On this side, you got some more tools and some cables. So yeah, very respectable. And yeah, I just looked it up, and I paid $33.40 for it. They want 35 something now, down from 44. So yeah. Oh, and I put the little senior decal on the side here for Terry. Yeah, there you go, buddy. Yeah, kiss my ass. Sorry, kids. And I'm actually in the middle of, what is it? While we're still on Tamiya, I had picked this up at the Tamiya head office store in Shizuoka, Japan, when we visited there in December. And this would be a great little starter kit for anybody. I don't know what it would cost in North America or Europe, but it cost 2,200 yen, which at the time was about $20 Canadian. And to me, it does a 135 as well. It has a lot more detail. But this is 148. And again, they give you information on the subject, which is all very nice. Their instructions are always impeccable. And this is a fairly simple kit. You get 2 decaling options, and so you know, here's the chassis. There's nothing fancy about it, but like I say, this would be something perfect for a beginner. And you know, you put it together. The wheels they're just regular PVC plastic. They're not rubber. But you know, you get some Tamiya rubber black, or even, you know, some flat black mixed with just a little tiny bit of dark blue. That'll do as well. And yeah. So, and not a lot of detail in the interior, but if you wanted to fabricate stuff, you certainly could. Looks like the doors won't open at the rear, but I don't know, we'll have to see. And so yeah, and it all just basically, it goes together, and they give you good blow-up diagrams and stuff. And Tamiya is also great. You know, you know, this teaches you, you know, when you start the hobby, you need to learn how to read instructions. And you need to learn what all the symbols mean, and not to intimidate anybody, but you know, every manufacturer has a little different way of doing things, what their symbols mean. Although there is quite a lot that's similar, but like anything else, after a few kits, you'll get to know. And there's plenty of opportunities for you to add extra little details here. It's molded. It was molded in olive drab, so if you wanted to, you could just, you know, plunk it together and put it on the shelf. And then it also comes with a figure, which is very nice. You look at figure sets online, the Tamiya ones. Obviously, there's all sorts of different ones, but you know, they're often 10, 11, 12 bucks a piece for 135 figures. So whenever there's figure only does it help to animate and add life to your model, it really helps you develop your skills in painting. A lot of people are intimidated. I was when I came back to the hobby. I never did figures much when I was a young modeler, but anyways, and then when I did get back into them, I found that I enjoyed it, and they weren't as hard as I expected them to be. So, and very often you get all sorts of different ones. So you can just you can only use a couple. You can use a couple of them and then not use the others, or whatever the case may be. And you can just practice on them. Use them as paint mules or whatever. So yeah, whenever I see a figure, that's a bonus for me, and I think most modelers will agree that it makes a big difference in a kit. So that's that one. Oh, and yeah, two things about it. I'll put an end screen. I just did a recent video on painting the tank commander for the Walker. Again, geared very much towards beginners. If you want to attempt for the first time, shows you some basic techniques, and I was pretty pleased with the way it turned out. As well, I showed it to you, so you can say what you want about it. Okay, and also for this particular kit, Tamiya does this sometimes. They've put a whole separate sheet here. So not only have they indicated in the instructions, they've also put a whole sheet of information on the subject. Tamiya does this. I think Academy does it as well. Tamiya calls them the tech tips, and it's a two-sided sheet, and it highlights tools that are useful and you may need. It shows you how to cut parts, different little techniques, how to apply the cement. So I mean, if you're just starting out and you have a Tamiya kit, go through this and take a look at it. And I'm also doing a full build video on this. It's a simple kit and it won't take very long. So there you go. Okay, well, we're still talking about Tamiya. I'm going to talk about two kits here. And you might, we might call it a tale of two kits. So, we were just talking about Tamiya. So, I'm going to continue with Tamiya. I had mentioned ships can be very difficult. If you do want to do a ship, this would be a good one to start with. It's the 1700 Waterline Series U.S. aircraft carrier Yorktown. Now, in the 1700 Waterline Series, they call it the Waterline Series because they all have flat bottoms. They don't have regular hulls. So that makes them, I mean, there's other kits out there if you want that kind of thing. And Tamiya has some too, just not in the Waterline Series. But if you just want this to kind of sit on the shelf nicely, or if you're going to put it in a diorama, the flat bottom is great. It's perfect. So, yeah, so 1700 Waterline Series, U.S. aircraft carrier Yorktown. I'm going to talk next about, well, soon, about scale. But 1700 is pretty small. Here it is. It's not finished yet, but I'm working on it. And so, you see there's all the little boats, all the little guns, and being an aircraft carrier, planes. So, oops. So a lot of people would rather go with the 1350. Of course, that's twice the size, and they take up a lot of shelf space. But if you have the space, that's fine. Ships are actually easier to display than, for the most part, than other model kits. Especially, things like airplanes and large trucks and things like that. You can angle them on your shelf, or they're easy to put on different levels, or whatever the case may be. Whereas with aircraft, their wings are sticking out. They've got propellers that need to be protected, not to mention pitos. So, anyways, yeah. So the that's the Yorktown, and nice little kit. I got this back in September 23, and with taxes, it was about $54. But yeah, I mean, you get a lot for $54. So no complaints whatsoever about that. So. And in contrast to what they normally do, they didn't put a write-up about the Yorktown. So, and I'm not going to go into all of that, but anyways, so here's the instructions. They give you the tools here, and that you might need. Magnifying visor. Yeah, they're pretty. Some of the stuff is pretty tiny. So I'm very fortunate. My eyesight's pretty good, and my hands are not shaky. I have my moments, but for the most part, they're pretty good. So if you have problems like that, you probably want to go to a larger scale. We'll talk about that more in a bit. So, and again, here we go. It's pretty straightforward. The assembly of the bridge. I'm just going to go through this quickly, just so you can get an idea. Okay, so on the one side there, then we're pretty much done. And it's just putting on the hull and the little anchor thingies, and voila. And then we go from there to putting on the deck. And you have the choice to have the elevator raised or lowered. And then there's the final things, and then the last thing was the configuration for the stuff. Now, my apologies, Miss Tamia. I had forgotten. They had also included this lovely. You may have noticed that at the water line, I had painted it dark blue, and the deck looked very, very dark. This was called deck blue, and it was basically a black blue. And I think later on in the war they moved to gray, but at the time the Yorktown was in service, that's the way it looked, so that's the way I did it. And then they tell you how to decal and paint the various aircraft, and then where they go. And then on the other side here, they also did the write-up. So I apologize for that. They did include a write-up. So. I can think of only two, maybe three Tamiya kits. Well, only two that were dogs. And every company has some more than others. But yeah, so you're pretty much assured of a well-engineered kit that goes together nicely, and that you can be proud of when you're done. So now I'm going to contrast that with, and I have to say here that all of my comments here, I, I don't mean it as criticism of the companies, okay? I mean, if it's a bad mold or bad tooling or, whatever the case may be, consistently, like Val used to be, they deserve to be called out. But I'm not saying one manufacturer is better than another or another or another. I'm just going to show you the difference here. So here we have the 1700 Waterline series aircraft carrier Akagi. And this one's by Hasegawa. And before the York, I might have got the Yorktown first, but I decided this is an awesome kit. I mean, I'll show you a bit, but it's again, it's Waterline series, and what the Waterline series is basically it was a collaboration between quite a few of or at least Hasegawa and Tamiya, and I think Aoshima, but I'm not sure. And they got together and produced what they called the Waterline series. And so most of these companies are in the same place, Shizuoka, Japan. And, these guys, they all know each other, and, while they're in competition, they all have their thing, and they all have their niche, and yeah, they take it from there. So I think it's all very gentlemanly. Okay, so skill levels. Okay, we just saw the Yorktown. Same scale, same kind of series. This is the Hasegawa instructions. Okay, they give a nice write-up. Got to give it to them there. Oh, and yeah, as far as Hasegawa goes, they mostly they're mostly still producing older kits. They don't come out with new kits very often. Although when they do, they're very nice. The only criticism, if you want to put it that way, that I can maybe kind of agree with is they tend to be a little bit over-engineered sometimes, some of them. So, but not to say they're not good kits. So we get all the detail here, the various different decals and the paint colors. Again, they use a little bit different scheme. The decals are white background circled numbers, and then the paint type is black background square. Yeah. And this one, unlike the Yorktown, only had decals for the aircraft. This has decals for everything here. So this part kind of gives you an overview of what you're going to be in for and what it's going to look like. So that's very nice to see up front. Then they give you the tips and the glossary, and then we get into the assembly. And here's something about what I mean. We got 1, 2, 3 pieces for a 1-700 launch. It's like that big. So in any case, yeah, and you have to do it more than once. So, anyways, and then we've got, they go to me. It took me quite a while to, and this is another reason why I shouldn't have started this first. Um, it took me a little while to, kind of familiarize myself and get to really understand. It's different. They strike me as being busier than the Tamiya instructions. And yeah, a little too much stuff going on, if you see what I mean. So, anyways, so, and you can see here, this is a much more complex assembly. So, I'm going to get through it, and actually I'm quite a ways through it, and I'm pleased with it so far. I've showed it a couple of times. And build updates. But here's where we're at so far. And I don't know, just every time I go to pick it up to do some work on it, I don't know. Yeah. So, but like I said, I'm mostly pleased with it. But it will be completed. Okay, so, oh yeah, since we're talking about Hasegawa and the subjects, I've got this kit. I haven't built it. And helicopters can be rather complex as well. They can be kind of difficult. This one doesn't look too bad, but I mean, this 172 helicopter, look at all this stuff. So, anyways, helicopters can be a bit of a challenge as well. And oops, get a nice decal set here. And looks like we get 2 figures as well. And there we go. So, yeah, this looks like a nice kit. I wish I would have made this my first Hasegawa kit. But anyways, I also have an F-18 by Hasegawa. And as far as I can tell, yeah, so they're fine. And yeah, so continuing on about the subject, so ships and helicopters, they're going to be the most difficult, especially ones that have rigging. And so, and of course, the obvious is, if you can, find out the number of parts the kit has. A lot of them put it right on the box somewhere, or you can often go on ScaleMates and actually, see the instructions and so on and so forth, or just look it up, just how many parts are in the blah blah blah, and then they'll tell you. So yeah, okay, so I've in the last 6-8 months, I've become a really big fan of AMT by Round 2. Here it is. That's the best way to see it. Yeah. This kit is a 68 Chevy El Camino SS. It also has a soapbox car, Coca-Cola brand. They do quite a few kits with the Coca-Cola brand. Of course, iconic American. Round 2 is an American company, and they produce their kits in the USA. They own the AMT brand, the Lindbergh brand, and also MPC. And I I ordered an MPC kit, and it came, and it was a truck, and the cab had been crushed in. And this was even before it wasn't it wasn't shipping. It was whatever. Anyway, so I just sent it back. But yeah, from what I've seen of the MPC kits, yeah, I would probably try and find the same subject from another manufacturer. So they've really revived the business in the U.S. In particular, and Canada. They've cleaned up or retooled a whole bunch of the old molds, and they have some very complex kits. Their International Transtar 124. That's over 250 pieces. It's a cab over semi tractor, and they also have a D8H. Is it a D8? Yeah, a D8H bulldozer 124, and it has over 350 parts. Although I think about 100 of those parts are pieces for the tracks. So, that's the other thing about complexity is a lot of the manufacturers now they do the tracks as individual pieces rather than as vinyl or whatever. And some people like them, some people don't. Yeah, I mean that's just a personal choice, but just bear in mind that that's going to make it more complex to put together. So, and since we're talking a little bit about scale, most of the vehicles you'll find are either, well, I mean, as far as AMT goes, they'll be 124 or 125. Same with Revell. Not that there aren't others out there. There's 132s. There's 116s. I think there's even a few 8s out there, 1/8 scale. Yeah, I mean, and the kits are, well, here I'm going to show you this. This one in particular here, we've got the body and the chassis. We've got real rubber tires. We've got chrome. There's a little soapbox car. Yada yada yada. So there's a lot going on here, including a motor. And very often there's more than one kind of motor or one way you can build it. AMT's great with the 2-in-1 and 3-in-1 kits, where you can like build it stock, custom, or drag race or whatever. And they're very reasonably priced. I mean, you look at the plastic there. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's you can put a clear coat on this and put it on a shelf as white. So and yeah, so. So this particular one's a 125 scale, and you can see here, the style is a little kind of old-fashioned the way it. But yeah, they give you some nice tips, and then you go through, and even here with the engine, I mean, this isn't super complex, and again, if it's your first car kit. Give you an idea of what how things go together. Usually it starts with the motor, not always, but probably 9 times out of 10. And then you just move on. This is not a complicated, super detailed kit. But you get, there is some nice detail. There's contour on the seats. You could paint that up, whatever the case may be. And then you've got the bed and a gas tank, and and then there's the chassis and exhaust. This looks, kind of pretty fiddly. So there's some nice little detail there. And then, you've got the front end, and then you drop the engine in, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So, they just give basic paint colors. They don't recommend any particular manufacturer. So, and they have all sorts of subjects, hot rods, and I've got a lot of their model car kits, and so. Okay. And that's the other thing, that kind of ties in a bit to scale, is the level of detail. If you get like a one, well, even a 132 or a 124 aircraft, that's going to have a lot of detail, and a lot of detail means a lot of painting and detailing. So, just to jump back quickly to Hasegawa, there's this kit, which does not look extremely complex or over-engineered, and I reviewed it the other day. It's a good value. It looks like it builds up fine, and so that's why it's a good idea to go on ScaleMates. After you've seen a few of them, you can pretty much tell right off the bat how complex the build's going to be. So, and if that's what you want, that's great. If you don't want that, well, yeah. Okay, now talk about scale and parts. I got this because, of course, you got to have a Sherman in your stash. But this is a 172 kit. You've got 1, 2, 3, including pieces of tracks. Photo etch on 172. That. We've got another one of these. And we got one of these. A 172 Sherman tank with 149 plastic parts and 16 photo etch parts. It's going to be a while before I get to the point. And I don't know. I don't like photo etch, and I know I'm not alone in that. Some people love it, and I understand why. But the thing I really hate about photo etch is when they put photo etch in there for stuff that when the kit's completed, nobody's going to see it. To me, that's just a waste of, just a waste. So, anyways, now come on, we're going to go in there. But I understand. It adds some real realism. The other the other thing that kind of irks me about photo etch is when they give you photo etch and then they tell you to paint it. say about that. So yeah, a lot going on with this kit, and again, with the scale, more parts means more little detaily things, which not everybody might be looking for when they build a model kit. So. For me, 148 is pretty good, especially if it's an aircraft or whatever. More or less, I'm a 135 guy when it comes to military hardware. And like I said, the 124 or 125 when it comes to civilian vehicles. Okay, so we're nearly done here. And just as an example of a 172 aircraft, I got this from Academy, and Academy is a great manufacturer. I love Academy; they're great. The only thing I would say is their decals can be difficult to work with. My experience has been they tend to roll up on themselves, and if that happens, you might as well just ditch it. And also they tend to, seem to me, they break very easily. So, you know, just keep that in mind. So, but we have very nice box art here. And we've got a 172 kit. We've got very nice clear parts, and you've got two options for open or closed cockpit, and all have very nicely delineated, what do you call it, whatever, seam lines that you're supposed to see. And so here we go. We've got two sprue bags. This one has 3. And yeah, here's their tips. You get a little, it's like a 2-page booklet or something. Fold out. No, it's just back to back. Yeah. So. And yeah, so I mean, if you know, if you first time aircraft, it's pretty straightforward. And my experience with Academy is the moldings are always impeccable. And I will also put up an end screen on a video of their factory that shows them actually producing model kits. So, we get a separate, and I don't know, I think this kit probably, I didn't look it up, but it'd probably be well under $30, $25, $28 probably, but I can't remember. So, and a great subject, gives you the different paint schemes. And Academy doesn't, as a rule, give you anything on the subject itself. That would be one way they could really kick it up a notch. But as you can see, this is a fairly simple assembly. You know, it's not too complex. Cockpit, depending on it can be quite difficult depending on how they've configured it. But this is a very straightforward. And there you go. There you go. Fixed gear, so that makes it easy. And yeah, so then you've got all the little extra details you want to do last. It shows you the 2 different options there. And at the end, and this is very nice, they always they give you a nice sprue map. One of the 172 Academy aircraft would be a good one to start on. and I wouldn't pay more than $30 Canadian for one of them. But that, but they're good little kits. Yeah, great place to start. And still on Academy. I built this recently and did a show on it. This is a really nice kit. I think it was only about $32. I got it at my local hobby store. Same style of instructions here. Very clear. And this is the end result. This just built up beautifully. And I got a separate figure set. I've only done the one figure so far, the Commander. But there's a complete tank crew, including a female driver. And yeah, so very nice kit, built up, as I said, just absolutely beautifully. And I'm very pleased with how it turned out. The weathering, and also there. I'll show you this. No, it wasn't these, it was somebody else. So, anyways, and tons of extra parts. I mean, you want to do a tank junkyard with all your old beat up ones. Look at all that suspension. Jeez. So, yeah, it was very reasonably priced and a really nice kit. Again, the only issue was with the decals. What can you do? And, another manufacturer to check out is Atlantis. They're putting out some really vintage kits, many from the 50s and 60s, and for the most part, they're very good kits. A little bit more flash than you'd want, but once you get past that, they're pretty good. So, anyways, so yeah, so that's it for today. I had mentioned that the Tamiya ambulance, 148 ambulance, would be a great place for anybody to start in the vehicle department, and also recommend this one. This is the Tamiya 135 Willys Jeep, and it comes with one figure. I'm very pleased with the way it all turned out, and it's pretty straightforward kit, not expensive, but goes together beautifully. I think, yes, there you go. And whoops, the windscreen goes up and down. You get accessories like the rifle here, and as you can see, you can also get a fully detailed engine. So that's something that's going to help you build your skills. So yeah, that'd be a really good place to start too. So there you go. Okay, well, thanks for stopping by. Spent about an hour, and hope everybody's doing well. And I'm going to be coming back, completing the build for the Tamiya ambulance. And also, I think another kind of special kit's coming today. So there'll be a few things coming out in the next few days. And then there'll be a bit of a break. I have to go to the mainland for a few days, Sunday to Wednesday. So you'll get a break from me. All right, so thanks again. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for all my subscribers. Oh, I hit 570. How about that? So thank you all very much for your support, and I really appreciate it. And feel free to leave comments. Happy to engage in discussion. If I've made a mistake, please correct me. That's how we learn, when you make a mistake. So yeah, so thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.